when we chant the Hare Krishna mantra, we actually we say Hare Krishna, right? So the word Hare refers to or is addressing Radharani, who is the feminine aspect of God. So sometimes people think, is God masculine or feminine? In our Bhakti tradition, actually, the one becomes two. So we'll talk more about this, that how there's no difference between the sun and the sunshine. You cannot have fire without heat. So in the same way, Krishna is the energetic source and Radha is the energy. The complete spiritual energy of Krishna is personified by Srimati Radharani. She's also, so Krishna is, most attractive, but is there something that can even attract him? And it is described that Radharani can actually attract Krishna. She with all her qualities and with all her love and devotion, she's able to attract Krishna. So our access to this mercy is because we might wonder, how is it that in this age of Kali Yuga, where things seem to so topsy-turvy, how are we getting, it is described that this is actually considered to be the topmost understanding of the absolute truth, this most intimate love between Radha and Krishna. So somebody might say, how is it possible that something as confidential and as special would be available to people of this age, where we don't seem to have the rightful qualifications? And the reason is because a mother always, her heart is filled with compassion. So it's because when Krishna comes in this age of Kali, he takes on the mood and the compassionate mood of Radharani. And he comes and he gives this love freely to one and all without any qualification. So he comes as Lord Chaitanya, who is Krishna, but in the mood of Radharani. And in that mood, he does not look for any qualification. He's not interested in our birth or our knowledge or our austerity. He simply wants to give it to anyone and everyone who's willing to take it. And he also wanted this message or this bhakti to be spread all over the world. And hence we see today in any part of the world, we can see this great wave of bhakti which is inundating the whole world. So in this chanting, we can call out, especially today, to Hare, because she is more than willing to offer this to us. So if we call out in that great mood of helplessness, begging her for a drop of this love, which is her domain, and she's the mistress and the goddess of bhakti, then we can also be blessed with this deep love that our heart is hankering for. To share on the screen this Ashtakam. So today being Radha Ashtami, we can, these are beautiful Ashtakams that have been written by our teachers, and this has been written by Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami, and it talks about the glories of Radharani, who is the, like we said, she's the divine feminine, and she's also the goddess of bhakti. So it's a very special day for us to meditate on her wonderful qualities. So we'll just quickly read the translation, and then I'll sing, and then you can just follow along. Her splendorous golden complexion steals the pride of a golden lotus flower, anointed with a tinge of red kumkum. Her sweet fragrance mocks the fame of the aroma of a lotus flower sprinkled with saffron powder. She is fully qualified to fulfill all the desires of the son of the king of the cowherd men. May Sri Radhika bestow upon me the service of her own lotus feet.
Her amazing and colorful silken garments make the splendor of red coral feel ashamed. She is a garden of blossoming flowers where the maddened bumblebee named Krishna performs amorous pastimes. She worships the sun god daily in order to attain the continual association of her beloved Krishna. May Sri Radhika bestow upon me the service of her own lotus feet. Her charming youthful delicacy negates the fame of the freshly sprouted leaves. Her refreshing form is worthy of being served by the cooling moon, sandalwood paste, lotus flowers and camphor. When she touches the master of the gopis, she dispels the burning heat of his lusty desires. May Sri Radhika bestow upon me the service of her own lotus feet. Although the goddess of fortune Lakshmi Devi is adored by other youthful goddesses, who are themselves glorified throughout the universe. Still, she is nowhere near Sri Radhika in the matter of beauty, praiseworthy youthfulness, or other divine feminine opulences. There is no one in the material or the spiritual world superior to Radhika in the expression of naturally loving pastimes. May Sri Radhika bestow upon me the service of her own lotus feet. She is very learned in many transcendental arts, such as performing in the rasa dance, singing and joking. She is decorated with many divine qualities such as loving nature, exquisite beauty, and wonderful garments and ornaments. Even among the cowherd damsels of Raja, who are praised by the entire universe, she is the best in every way. May Sri Radhika bestow upon me the service of her own lotus feet.
Keep going.
She possesses the opulences of eternal youth, youthful beauty, eternal pastimes, and eternal love for Krishna. Her ecstatic feelings of love for Krishna cause the gopis, who are also in love with Krishna, to tremble. She is always attached to meditating on Sri Krishna's beautiful form, ornaments, garments, and pastimes. May Sri Radhika bestow upon me the service of her own lotus feet.
She's graced with 8 ecstatic symptoms. We spoke to Naji about this yesterday. Sattvika bhava, such as trembling, perspiring, standing up of bodily hairs, tears, faltering of the voice, and so forth. She is adorned with different ecstatic emotional ornaments, such as impatience, joy, contrariness, and so forth. She is decorated with beautiful jewels that give total delight to the eyes of Krishna. May Sri Radhika bestow upon me the service of her own lotus feet. If she is apart from Krishna for even half a moment, she becomes stricken with wretched suffering, restlessness, and a multitude of other ecstatic symptoms of separation. When she regains the association of Krishna after some effort, then all of her anguish immediately vanishes. May Sri Radhika bestow upon me the service of her own lotus feet. It is very difficult for Parvati and other exalted goddesses to attain even a glimpse of Srimati Radharani, who is dear to Lord Krishna. But if someone glorifies her by reciting these 8 verses, then she, who is delighted by Krishna's continuous association, will grant the sweet nectar of her personal service to that person, who thereby enters the assembly of her similarly delighted girlfriends. So it's actually, this is an aspect of our philosophy that is actually hidden even from the Vedas. So it's very confidential and it's very esoteric, as you can see. So we'll just sing, and then you can just look at the Sanskrit. Or the problem. Okay, I think I should. Yeah, I can see. I think I should. Yeah. Yeah, that's better. कुङ्कुमात् कञ्चनाब्ज गर्भहारि गौरभा पीतनाञ्चिताब्जगन्धा कीर्तिनिन्दिसौरभा बल्लवेश सोनो सर्वा वाञ्छितार्थ साधिका मायमात्मपाद पद्मा दास्यदास्तुराधिका कौरवेन्दकान्तिनिन्दे चित्रपाट साधिका कृष्णमात्तभृङ्गकेली फूलपुष्पवाटिका कृष्णनित्यसङ्गमार्थ पद्मबन्धुराधिका मायमात्मपादपद्मा दास्यदास्तुराधिका सौकुमार्य श्रेष्ठपल्लव वलिकीर्तिनिग्रहा चन्द्रचन्दनोत्पलेन्दु सेव्यशीतविग्रहा स्वाभिमर्शबल्लवीश कामतापबाधिका मय्यमात्मपादपद्मा दास्यदास्तु राधिका विश्ववन्द्ययोऽवताभिः वन्दिता पिया रमा रूपनाव्ययौवनादि सम्पदा नयत्समा शीलहर्दलीलरसा यतुस्तीनाधिका मय्यमात्मपादपद्मा दास्यदास्तु राधिका रासलास्य गीतनर्मा सत्कलानि पण्डिता प्रेमरम्यरूपवेशा सद्गुणानि मण्डिता विश्वनाव्यगोपयोषिर् आनितोऽपि अधिका मय्यमात्मपादपद्मा दास्यदास्तु राधिका नित्यनाव्यरूपकेली कृष्णभावसम्पदा कृष्णरागबन्धगोपा यावतेषु कम्पदा कृष्णरूपवेशकेली लग्नसत्समाधिका मय्यमात्मपादपद्मा दास्यदास्तु राधिका श्वेदकम्पकण्ठकाश्रु गद्गदादिसञ्चिता मर्षहर्षवामतादि भवभूषणाञ्चिता कृष्णनेत्रतोषिरत्ना मण्डनानिदादिका मय्यमात्मपादपद्मा दास्यदास्तु राधिका याशनार्धकृष्णविप्रा योगशन्ततोदिता निकदैन्यचापलादि भाववृन्दमोदिता यत्नलब्धकृष्णसङ्ग निर्गताखिलाधिका मय्यमात्मपादपद्मा दास्यदास्तु राधिका अष्टकेन यस्वनेन नौति कृष्णवल्लभम् दर्शनेऽपि शैलजादि योषिदानि दुर्लभम् कृष्णसङ्गनन्दितात्मा दास्यसेधुभाजनं तं करोति नन्दितानि सञ्चयाशु साजनम् कुङ्कुमार्तकञ्चनाब्ज गर्वहारि गौरभा पीतानाञ्चिताब्जगन्धा कीर्तिनिन्दिसौरभा वेशसूनु सर्वा वाञ्छितार्थसाधिका मय्यमात्मपादपद्मा तस्य दास्तु राधिका.
That was beautiful.
What did we talk about? We talked about equal vision, right?
Yeah, we talked about equal vision, how we are all seeking equality in this world, but at the same time, there is so much inequality and discrimination. And we looked at the different levels of discrimination and equality that is there, and what can we do about it? And at the same time, we recognize that there are differences in the world. Not to even every soul is unique and distinct. So there are differences at all levels, at the material level, at spiritual level. And does it mean that everything should become equal, or we are okay with having the differences? But then, what does equality mean? What kind of equality are we looking for? So I guess those are the questions that we looked at yesterday, and today we'll get into how at the spiritual level we can create this equal vision, and this equal vision leads to the kind of equality that probably we are looking for. And
we also talked about, right, that how this higher vision has two parts to it. This higher vision has there is an inward looking vision, and then there is an outward looking vision. So the inward looking vision has to be in place before we can actually manifest the outward vision, because without that inner vision, unless and until we see ourselves as a spiritual being, we cannot truly see the other. In fact, Prabhupada would say that you spend your whole life with a person, but did you really even see that person? Right? So it's important to bring both those aspects together, the inner vision with the outer vision, and the combination of both the two then becomes higher vision. So we talked about this Mrigari the hunter, and how he has a total transformation. And sometimes we may hear these stories and we may go, yeah, right, but how does that happen? But we see that even in the life of Prabhupada, when he came to the West, he was not teaching people who were already living sort of like a clean life. I mean, he was dealing with people who were into all kinds of addictions and all kinds of crazy habits and craziness, and he was able to transform them completely by his spiritual potency. Again, the spiritual compassion of Radharani manifest through this line of teachers. And so he was able to transform we hear about a bum, for example, who'd bring a toilet paper to Prabhupada, right? And so many stories like that. So it's there.
And we looked at the ants, how in order to appreciate a living entity, when we look closely at the living entity, we find that they have so many wonderful qualities. And a part of this equal vision is appreciating those wonderful qualities every single living entity has, and recognizing that we are insignificant. And from that point of view, from that platform, we can actually develop that higher vision. Higher vision means seeing the good qualities of others. That's one aspect of this higher vision.
Oh yeah.
So this is the.
No, hold on, before you show that.
Chaitanya Mahaprabhu led to
This is like going out of control today.
Okay, so as we talked about Radharani, which is her appearance day, so it's a very good day for us to actually watch these little movie clips. It's a very old movie.
Lord Chaitanya
Just give
Mahaprabhu
us-
lived approximately
Can we
18
pause?
years.
Okay. So we talked about how Krishna appears 500 years ago. So he's thinking in his heart that, what is this love, which even I cannot taste? And what are these devotees tasting when they experience the sweet rasa of bhakti for me? And so to experience that, he comes as Lord Chaitanya, who is basically the combined incarnation of Radha and Krishna.
But his mood is predominantly that of Srimati Radharani, who is his compassion personified, and she wants to distribute this love to everybody, and through Krishna she is basically distributing that love to everybody regardless of their qualification. Just like the mother wants to give the best to every child regardless of who they are. The father may be a little bit more strict, but the mother is always the most open-hearted, and that's the mood of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, predominated by the mood of Srimati Radharani.
And also, right before the time of Lord Chaitanya's appearance in India, this knowledge, this process of bhakti, these mantras, all these ancient Vedic texts, they were sort of locked up, in these ancient temples, and the access to this knowledge was only to a very, very select few people who were fortunate enough to be born in a family of Brahmanas, who were trained up from the very beginning of their life in Brahminical culture, and those were the only people who could ever even think of entering into these deepest.
Chaitanya Mahaprabhu.
Oh Krishna, can we?
I'm just trying to get it to stop so that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this knowledge was completely trapped, and people didn't have access to it. But when Lord Chaitanya came, one of the things, and it's because we're talking about equal vision, so it's important for us to see the connection there, that Lord Chaitanya actually reached out to the segments of society that were sort of marginalized, who were not really allowed many times in the temple. For example, he appointed a Mohammedan person as the acharya or the teacher for this chanting process, Haridas Thakur. And Haridas Thakur was not allowed in the ancient temple of Lord Jagannath, but Lord Chaitanya would himself come and visit Haridas. And in this way, his preeminent disciples, even Rupa Goswami and Sanatan Goswami, they were all working in the Muslim government, and they had taken on a Muslim identity. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, actually, this was his desire, that this knowledge should not just remain trapped within the very thick, high walls of Brahminical culture, right?
On the higher castes. He
On the
wanted
high-
to make this available to every single living entity, and the more disqualified they were based on their varna or ashrama or their socio-economic status, the more qualified they were in the eyes of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu.
And he made a prediction at the time that, there will come a time when this ancient knowledge of bhakti is going to cross the 7 seas and will actually go to every town and village. And for the longest time, people thought that it was just a beautiful, poetic way of saying that it's going to be popular. But nobody really thought that it was possible for this very ancient tradition, culture of bhakti to actually spread across the boundaries of India. And so Prabhupada actually did that. So the idea being that, if you want to have a place of equality, then any kind of, this is the platform in which, even though we may be at different levels, our intelligence may be different, our money, our riches, our background, our skin color, our gender may be different, but everyone is lifted up.
Yeah, because everybody is in this. In one sense, we are all in it together in this prison house, and our ultimate unity is basically getting out of here, right? And that's the highest purpose of life, anyways. And when we start looking at each other, when we start looking at ourselves from that point of view, then we can actually have that equal vision. That let's work together to get out of here, and then whatever help I can provide to the other person, then I'm there for it. So.
And actually, when Prabhupada came to the West and he brought this mood of Lord Chaitanya, and he initiated people and made them into Vaishnavas, which is a state higher than a Brahmana. And when he took them back to India, there were many people who felt that he was breaking the ancient system. So again, this effort to bring everyone on an equal spiritual platform is actually what this whole bhakti movement is all about. It is not just about saving oneself or becoming situated in the most ecstatic symptoms, but it is actually helping people who are disfranchised, or people who may not belong or may not have access to this, to kind of rise up. And there is a metaphor for that in the land of Mayapur where Lord Chaitanya appears, there's a flood that comes every year. And so it says that when there's a flood, everything rises to the surface. Even the things that are in the lowest level actually rises up. So this is the mood of this bhakti revolution, is to bring everyone to the highest level, irrespective of our background. Don't tell me. No, it's okay. So this is a movie about Lord Chaitanya.
Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu
Do you remember?
lived approximately 18 years in
It's right in the
Nilachal,
beginning.
Jagannath Puri,
Is it?
between the years 1510 and 1534, during the reign of Gajapati Prataparuja
No, it's right in the
Maharaj,
beginning.
the king
Is
of
it?
Orissa.
Might be in the beginning.
This film, made in Bengal,
Yeah, it's in
India,
Bengal.
in 1959, though historic.
There's subtitles.
আমাদের রাজা নেই, দেশ নেই, জগন্নাথ নেই। না 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 তো কথা বলিস না সর্দা, কেউ না থাকেন, জগন্নাথ আছেন।
So these are the untouchables.
They're saying that there's nobody for us.
মিথ্যা কথা, তোর কথা আর শুনবো না। না না শুনবো না। তুই রাজার চর। আমি যে রাজার চর, সেই রাজাকে এখনো তোরা চোখেও দেখিসনি। তার হাতে অস্ত্র নেই, সঙ্গে সৈন্য নেই, তার কাছে ছোট বড়,
Saying that for him there's no difference.
Rich and poor.
High caste, low caste, Hindu, Muslim.
দুঃখ, যত আঘাত মানুষ মানুষকে দিয়েছে, তার সবখানি ব্যথা জল হয়ে তার দুই চোখ দিয়ে দরদর করে গড়িয়ে পড়েছে। তিনি শুধু বলেন যে তোমরা ভালোবাসো, শুধু
The
ভালোবাসো।
only way to the Lord is through pure love,
পুঁথি নয়,
not by empty
মন্দির
ritual.
নয়, দেবতা নয়, তোমরা শুধু মানুষকে ভালোবাসো। সেই হবে জগন্নাথের পূজা।
I think that's a
জগন্নাথ
beautiful
এখন দেবদাসী নাচে গানে
Hari
ঘুমিয়ে
Hari
আছেন।
Hari Hari.
তাই অন্য নাচে অন্য গানে তাকে জাগিয়ে তোলবার জন্য তিনি আসছেন। আমি জানি তিনি আসছেন, আমি দেখতে পাচ্ছি তার অপরূপ মদন মোহন রূপ। আমি আজকে উৎকল হিংসায় উন্মত্ত সমস্ত দেশকে শান্তিতে অভিষিক্ত
I'm sorry.
করতে করতে তিনি ছুটে আসছেন। আমি শুনতে পাচ্ছি তার পায়ের শব্দ, তার আকুল কণ্ঠস্বর। জগন্নাথ স্বামী, জগন্নাথ
So you would include this was bhakti on the streets and breaking the walls and the doors and releasing the contents to one and all without any discrimination. You can pause here. And in fact, you can see that these are, the rigid Smarta Brahmanas, and then they go to the Muslim king and they complain. And they say that Lord Chaitanya is actually spoiling our ancient tradition. He's bringing people who are not supposed to be part of this, and so.
And I guess this whole caste system was kind of artificially created so that some people can take advantage of the lower people in the lower caste. But Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came to dismantle that.
So if they're so religious, how come they didn't recognize from the Vedas that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is the avatar of Krishna?
Yeah, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was a hidden avatar, and his symptoms are described in the Vedas. But people are.
But this,
I think he's saying something.
Oh,
I said people who are constantly religious did not recognize that. I'm just
yeah,
surprised.
they didn't have proper understanding of the scriptures, so that's why. So let's move on.
You have to share.
And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he not only gave it to in his
Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu.
in his attempt to spread the Sankirtan movement, this love of God, he gave it to all the human beings. He traveled throughout India, and whoever he met, he transferred this love of God. to everybody. But he also gave it to the animals. He was journeying to Vrindavan, and during the journey he passed through this forest of Jharikhanda, where he saw every animal as a spirit soul, and he sang the Hare Krishna with them, and all the animals actually gave up the enmity with each other, and they danced with Lord Chaitanya in this the glorification of the holy name.
And it may seem like a little far-fetched, like how's that possible? The tiger and the elephant and the deer, they all came together. But we were just talking to this very close friend of ours who has many cats, and he always tells us how he has named all his cats. And he was saying that, the cats actually come and sit right by him when he chants. And so, it is possible for, because ultimately it's the same spark of consciousness that's residing within the body of every living entity. And so they do respond. And what to speak of when the potent chanting of Lord Chaitanya was received by these animals, they were completely transformed.
So the reason we have inequality and discrimination is because of envy, and because of envy is the root cause. And then through this propagation of this pure love, then everybody is able to give up that envy and then treat each other with this love and affection. And that's the true platform of equality that we are looking for.
And actually, before we can build, we have all these broken relationships, but at the root of all these broken relationships is this primordial or original broken relationship, and with Krishna. And so when we take care of that relationship within, and I'm going back to that same idea of an inward vision, when we fix that, then we find that our relationships on the outside are also automatically healed. And that is the secret of real healing in the world, is because otherwise we may try to execute so many peace initiatives and try to create more and more programs for peace, but we find that peace is always evading us. And that's true at the level of the world, it's true at the level of a family, it's also true at our own level, right, individual level, that we find we make so many efforts for peace, but we won't truly find peace until and unless we connect with this eternal identity of ours.
And like there's an emptiness within us, and until we are filled ourselves, we'll always feel that emptiness, and that creates that envy that maybe some other person has more than me, and that creates a conflict.
So why did we have this here?
Diversity.
Okay. Well, it seems a little.
I would say diverse.
Let me just remember.
We're talking about how unity and diversity.
Okay.
Because there are differences we see, and the diversity, rather than being a negative thing, or differences being a negative, it can be a positive thing when we start looking at it in that spirit. That everybody is like a. Maybe we can just play it for
To me is when you're with a bunch of people and you can just see a little bit of everybody in one area, like all the cultures like mixed together just to fuse like one huge population.
Diversity is, differences, and that can be like a wide range of different things. That can be, race, friend groups.
Diversity is just having a wide range of people, not necessarily race. It could be race, religion.
Well, I'd say diverse.
It goes on and on. So basically the idea being that there is differences amongst us on the level of the body. I think this video should have been a little bit, in the beginning. So sorry about that. But just to give you an indication that there is diversity, but how do we find this unifying, principle within this diversity? So this is a quote that says that there are not more than 5 musical notes, yet the combinations of these 5 give rise to more melodies than can ever be heard.
And there are not more than 5 primary colors, yet in combination they produce millions of colors and hues that can be seen.
There are not more than 5 cardinal tastes, yet combinations of them yield more flavors than can ever be tasted. And Prabhupada also, he talks about this, that we are looking for agreement and peace, and he says that material nature means dissension and disagreement, especially in this Kali Yuga. But for this Krishna consciousness movement, its success will depend on agreement. Even though there are varieties of engagements, in the material world there are varieties, but there is no agreement. In the spiritual world, there are varieties, but there is agreement. That is the difference.
And he says that the materialist, without being able to adjust the varieties and the disagreements, makes everything zero. So, okay, I can't take care of the varieties or adjust to the varieties, so let me just make everything zero, which means let me annihilate my identity. They cannot come into agreement with varieties, but if we keep Krishna in the center, then there will be agreement in varieties. This is called unity in diversity. So this is a very fine point, that recognizing our diversity, recognizing our differences, but then when we focus on our spiritual connection with Krishna, when we focus our connection with Krishna, then all this variety actually becomes a beautiful bouquet of offering to Krishna. And everybody can actually support each other, everybody can love each other, and everybody can appreciate each other as a spiritual being, and then everybody can live in this harmony or unity that we are looking for.
Actually, one of our biggest challenges on the path of bhakti is this accommodation of this idea of spiritual variety. Because in the material world, we see variety. And just like I think we had mentioned, we had the similar conversation earlier, that forms in this world imply suffering. So variety also in this material world implies differences, dissension, like a gap between you and me. And so when we try to enter into the spiritual realm, we want to make all that variety zero. And we think, oh, the spiritual realm must be just this homogeneous, unified existence where there is no variety. And that's one of the most inconceivable things, to see that there is actually greater variety there, because it is the source of all enjoyment. And hence, whatever we are seeing here, the varieties we are seeing here, is just a pale reflection of the original varieties that actually exist in the spiritual realm. But the difference is that over here, the varieties challenge us. Over there, the varieties, they add to the rasa, to the experience of spiritual bliss.
For everybody.
For everybody.
So this is the way we can actually achieve this encouragement, achieve this equality that we are looking for, is by appreciating, by encouraging everybody to the best of their potential, because that is the platform of love and service that actually will unite us and make us all equal in our quest to please Krishna.
Actually, that is one of the ways that one can identify a person who's actually walking on a spiritual path. He or she is able to include within their heart anyone and everyone, right, who's part and parcel of Krishna. And we actually we have a wonderful teacher who we hope you'll meet one day, and he always uses this term, fan the spark, which means that each and every living entity in this world, everyone has a spiritual spark. And so how do we see everyone with an equal vision? The most practical way to actually do that is by encouraging everyone, by fanning that spark in whatever way. It doesn't mean that everyone has to become exactly like us, but wherever people are at, we encourage them so that they can ignite that spark of love of God within their heart. We can watch this. This is very nice. I think this is
Start with another story here. A man walks into a diner. Sounds like a bad joke. A man walks into a diner and asks the waitress behind the counter for the payphone. This is in days before cell phones. And she points him over to the
Maybe
floor.
we can use it some other time. It's okay. Yeah, we'll watch this.
We'll watch this some other time, but the main point here is this encouragement.
Because we're running out of time. So this is our higher...
We'll come back to this later.
Yeah, we'll come back to this. Yeah, this we should watch.
This is a very interesting video where how you can see this, how even animals have this sense of equality of appreciating life in whatever form it is. This orangutan, he saves a chicken who's drowning, and then he appreciates the chicken. So he makes a great effort to save this chicken.
Okay, this one. Wait. He's trying to lift the chicken with a leaf.
This is the leaf.
Is it that long?
Yeah.
He finally lifts it up and oh my goodness. You can pause here. So much of care and concern for life, right? So this is the idea that all life is sacred. And if we start appreciating that, and we try to reach out and encourage everyone and fan everyone's spark and make an effort to form those connections, even though the other person may be very different from us, right? To build bridges, then actually this world can become a very happy place. And that is the meaning of the word namaste. We use the word namaste, and it means that I offer my respects to the divine spark within you. So we'll end with this little video about namaste.
Here we are at the Senchoji Temple in Tokyo. There are hundreds of temples like this because it's natural. People are looking for something deeper, something spiritual. The other day, while I was walking in Okinawa, Japan, I was going up a very steep hill. At the same time, a man was coming down in a pickup truck. It was a small truck, an older man. I was walking up, I glanced at him, and when I saw him, he bowed his head. Naturally, I bowed my head in return. And I felt something. What was it? I was wondering. As I kept walking, I thought more about that exchange. It felt real, genuine. Then I thought of the word acknowledge. And when I got home, I looked up the word. The word acknowledge means to actually recognize that which is valid in others, that which is beneath just the skin. I was thinking more about it that day, and I came across a quote that said, the opposite of love is not hate, it's indifference. Acknowledging what's real and valid in others is called the Namaste spirit. Here in Japan in 2011, during the tsunami,
This is very nice.
there were rescue efforts going on. But they weren't saving cars, they weren't saving television sets. They were saving people and animals, anything that's alive, because the living spirit has value, and we all know it. We all acknowledge it implicitly. To acknowledge it explicitly is the Namaste spirit. Make a gesture, a smile, a nod. Honor the life within others, and you'll find the world opening up to you. True happiness lies within. And on that note, I offer my respects to you. Namaste.
So this is the spirit that Krishna is saying at the end of the 5th chapter, middle of the 5th chapter, Vidya Vinay Sampanne Brahmane Gavihastini. Honoring this, when we are honoring this living spirit in everybody, we are also honoring the super soul who is within everybody, and we are pleasing the super soul. And through this love and service, we can actually achieve this treating everybody in an equal way. Recognizing that there are differences, and there will always be differences between everybody, but despite those differences, we can achieve a situation where we enhance each other's journey towards Krishna. We encourage each other in our service to each other.
And in that way, we can actually see everyone with an equal vision.
Right.
So that is the true meaning of equal vision. It's not just offering respect or being indifferent or even tolerating the other, but rather seeing that common spiritual spark, seeing the connection of each spiritual spark to the supreme spark, and encouraging that spiritual spark in whatever way to reawaken that dormant love that is actually within everyone's heart. And in that way, if we work and if we live, then this whole material world actually transforms into the spiritual sky. So
we'll end it here.
We'll end it here.